this is what I do for a living. But what I really like to do is watch the DIY chameleon guys.
Hello, DIY chameleon guys and gals out there. It's me and James, and we are here with John from House of Hydro. Hello, John.
Hey, John,
How you guys
look at
doing?
that.
Oh,
Yeah, I got some fog here. In South Florida, though, I'm not running it too long. I'll be sweating.
well, we have grown to love fog. Not sure how it got that way. It just kind of got out of hand, John. But we are where we are.
I love it too.
but uh, so, just for everybody who is just joining us, wondering what the heck are we talking about, we have done a number of DIY projects which have to do with building your own fogger because we just don't have foggers that we're happy with in the chameleon community, and so we build our own and we use components from the House of Hydro, and that's where John comes in. So
Much appreciated. Much
so,
appreciated.
John, let's just start off from these people who have no idea who you are or how this works. Who are you, and what is your relationship to the House of Hydro?
I own the House of Hydro. I got started about 17 years ago, really by happenstance. I had a pretty rough workplace injury and was stuck in a wheelchair for like 8 months and started growing. Not what most people think, but I started growing hydroponically in South Florida. And I was growing some massive tomato plants out in my backyard hydroponically. And I learned about fog ponics. And I'm like, man, what is this fog ponic stuff? So I had a little electric wheelchair because I was stuck in it for so long. And I wheeled myself into the hydroponic shop about 20 minutes away. And I grabbed one of their floor models of this, it's called a Nutrimist, fog ponic machine. And I literally tore it open right on there on the floor, and I looked in there and I said, "Oh, what's this little ultrasonic fogger thing?" And that's where it all started. Got into it that way and realized real quick the majority of them were trash and not worth anything, and ended up going to China and meeting up with one of the leaders there and kind of picking everything apart and trying to figure out how to build something that was dependable and would last, longer than 2 weeks, if you were running it commercially, So that's really where it all started. I started packing them right off my kitchen table in a wheelchair. And I don't know, probably 5 years into it, I quit my real job and went with this full time, and it's been great. Got my wife out of teaching and we work together here, and this is our office right behind us. And it's been good. It's been good. I'm more of a plant guy, as you can see, than a chameleon guy. Um, uh,
Well,
that's
that's
what we
a
do.
question. Who are your customers, and how many of your customers would you say are from the reptile community?
My customers vary, largely vary. I would say my most famous customer is probably Katy Perry. To name drop that, she uses them on set. Her special effects guy uses them on set for fake fire, actually, because they don't really like real fire on set anymore. So they use red and yellow LEDs and our fog, and make these fake fires out of them that are phenomenally realistic. I would say Paul Stamets is a big guy, mushroom customer. Mushrooms are probably my biggest industry that we deal with, keeping the grow tents nice and humid. And then I'd say reptiles are probably my second biggest, behind mushrooms. That's or maybe home humidification is probably a runner up with that. And over the last couple of years, we've had some sterilization customers come in pretty big,
Okay.
with COVID and everything. But yeah, we definitely see a lot
All
of
right.
chameleon guys. It's well, reptiles in general. Actually, I saved a chameleon out of the middle of the highway, like probably a month and a half ago. He was sitting right on the double yellows, and it's the second one that I've saved. The other one was actually on our street, and yeah, this guy was in the middle of the highway, and I jumped out of the car, threw my hazards on, took off my tactical Black Rifle Coffee Company shirt, and ran ran over there and slapped it on top of them and grabbed them, and lo and behold, I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
know those suckers can bite. You know, yeah, they can absolutely bite. It was not a bite-proof shirt. Um, he got me good, but I bring them back here and let them go right on my porch, and I haven't seen them since. But
All
I'd
right. We knew
imagine
you
it's
were a good
thankful.
guy. Uh,
Yeah.
I couldn't leave him, man. He's just sitting there, just
uh,
looking around. Dump trucks. I live near quarries. Dump trucks going everywhere, and oh man, I got to get him.
That's awesome. So, John, obviously, I've been using your product. I love it. It's like one of my favorite things. It helps all of my equipment. It's part of who I am. Um,
that's his nickname, the
Awesome.
Fog Father.
I'm serious. It really is part of who I am in this
I know it's
community.
great.
Um, so how is the fog actually made with the transducer? What is the effect that makes it work?
So it's an ultrasonic vibration. I believe it's like 1.6 megahertz. So you can't hear it. Humans can't hear it. But it's a very, very fine vibration. I'd imagine you've probably
I
stuck your
have
finger
my
on top
tongue.
of one of them accidentally.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
it's not. it's it's painful. I like to compare it to like a subwoofer, right? If you were to take a car subwoofer, one of the big ones,
Uh
and
huh.
turn it up like this and pour water into it, and imagine what it would do to the water,
Right.
just blowing it everywhere. It's almost the exact same thing on a very, very small, uh, almost microscopic scale. You know, the particles that it makes are sub 5 micron. They're usually 3 to 5 micron. So in the industry, it's considered like a dry fog. It typically things stay dry around it unless it's forced directly on it, or you're just unloading mass amounts
Or do it all night.
of fog onto something.
Yeah. That's what we do. We run
Yeah,
them all night.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
oh, nice. So yeah, it would definitely
Yeah.
wet your cages up nice, you know. But yeah, people use these in like even hospital settings around electronics and stuff for sterilization. So it's a really fine, you know, fog, and it's just it really all they're composed of is some electronics inside. There's a spring right underneath the disc that sends a very fine vibration up into. It's a small, thin, 20 millimeter by like maybe a 0.5 millimeter ceramic disc that just vibrates
Are you
So
at
it's
super high
literally
speed.
vibration. There's no cavitation between any plates, or that's
No, it's one single plate and a spring underneath, and it yeah, it really you can't see it move. You can feel it move if you stick your finger on it, but it doesn't feel like movement. It feels like somebody stuck
Uh,
a knife
that's
are
into
you
amazing.
your
able to
finger,
control
you
how
know.
big of particles come off?
So you can. It's a yes and no question. You can control it based on the megahertz that you put into it, you know, the rate of vibration and the size of the disc. So those two things will change the size of the fog particle. Neither of which we do.
Well,
It
uh,
all of it plays a part in longevity and how long that disc will last. You know.
we are doing a lot of analysis of chameleon hydration. We're looking at what's going on in the wild, trying to figure out how to more closely replicate. If we came back and said we'd like this custom ability or custom size of droplet, is that something that you could have done as a special?
Potentially, yeah. Like I said, it's a fine line between longevity of the unit and the disc itself,
Okay.
and the size of the particle. You know, it's if you have to run it at a higher megahertz, it's gonna put more,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, wear or damage into the disc. You know, and it's a ceramic disc, and after some time, they lose their rigidity and just don't quite do what they're made to do. You know, and that's when you end up having to
So
change them out. You know.
as longevity goes, how long do those discs last? I mean, what's the normal amount of
So
time? I know
it's
how long they last, but I want to know what you.
so it really depends. we advertise them at 3 to 5,000 hours, which it typically does fall somewhere in there. If you have a really small water container and you're running a larger unit, they create heat as they run. And when you start looking at temperatures over like 110 to 115 degrees, the amount of time that those discs last start dropping tremendously. So if you're running them daily, like I said, most of my guys are mushroom growers, and they'll run like 5 to 10 minutes on, 10, 15 minutes off all day long, 24/7. And I have guys, some of them come back after 6 months and are looking to change discs. Some guys email me after a year and a half and they're like, when should I change these discs? And I'm going,
Yeah.
What are you doing? Show me your secrets, And I think a lot of it has to do with water temperature, and then there's other issues like if you have hard water or soft water. If you have a high mineral content, it'll build up on the discs, and a lot of the times you can clean them off just with your t-shirt. You stick your finger on your t-shirt and just wipe the discs out. But there's a couple different factors.
What happens to microorganisms that are in the water?
That's a good question. That's a question that I get often. I would imagine that they probably don't like it a whole lot. I can't say that it kills them, because you do get a biofilm if you don't maintain your water, right? You do end up seeing some type of biofilm after a while. It gets some funk in there, which we can talk about how to prevent that as well. But I would say that it probably doesn't kill them, because you do end up seeing, this funk in the water. So it's not a sterilization tool in terms of keeping the water clean.
We're just wondering. We got to be very careful about what comes into the environment. What's the concern is, what kind of bacteria are we sending up into the air to be breathed in?
Yeah. So I recommend a couple different things, and I don't think it would be an issue with your chameleons, but a lot of people use hydrogen peroxide at a low concentration in the water, and we typically, and now it's much higher than you really end up with, but we typically recommend a 20-to-1 ratio if you're using the 3% hydrogen peroxide from the drugstore. You can buy much stronger online. But I recommend going 20-to-1 and then gradually reducing it until you start to see negative effects, or lack of effect. And that's kind of right where your active threshold is, so it could be a 70-to-1, 100-to-1 ratio. So just a splash or two of hydrogen peroxide every week can really help knock down that bacteria level in the water.
And is that safe for people to breathe in?
I think it is. I wouldn't recommend.
I have to get a doctor.
Yeah, but I mean, hydrogen peroxide is just water, right? What, 2 parts hydrogen? I don't know. I'm not going to try to get sciencey.
I am not going to weigh in on this, everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll get
we'll
comments.
Be looking into this.
I'm sure you'll get comments, but it's.
We may have to look into this one in the future.
Yeah, but I mean, it's okay to gargle with hydrogen peroxide. It's you force it down dogs' throats if you need them to vomit. So I'd imagine it wouldn't kill you. but yeah, so. I don't know. I'm sure somebody that's smarter than us will chime in.
We'll figure that out. And
a UV light is the other way. I've got waterproof UV lights on the site, and they do a tremendous job at knocking down the bacteria levels of the water. And it's literally just plug and play. You just drop it in the reservoir, and you're good to go.
So do you keep your reservoir? Are your reservoirs dark?
Yeah,
or are they light?
I definitely recommend some type of opaque container. Any light you're letting in there, you're going to be asking for algae growth and stuff like that. So a darker container is certainly recommended.
All right, you got James. Okay, I'm going to ask my question. We have had instances where some waters do not work, that can't be fogged, and it's like, and it's. Do you know anything about this? Because I haven't been able to figure out the pattern.
So, over time, I've had some guys that struggle with early failures, and they were using, I believe it was a real low pH water, um, which was odd to me. So I don't know if pH really has anything to do with it. I do know surface tension plays a part. Because I've got people that nebulize all kinds of stuff, like from gasolines to thinners to acids to perfumes, oils, anything you can think of, insecticides, um, and surface tension definitely plays a part. If it's something that's hard to, I, I guess, break the surface tension, it doesn't like to nebulize. Like more viscous things. Um, as far as
When
different,
these
I'm sorry, go
when
ahead.
these first came out, I got a fogger. I brought it home, and it wouldn't work. So I brought it back. They tested it. It worked perfectly. So I brought it back to my home. It didn't work at all, and I actually had to bring water from my home to the store. We
Wow.
sat it down, and we could tell my water didn't work.
You
Their
still have
water
some of that
worked.
water?
No, this was a long time ago. I haven't been
You,
able to recreate it,
do
but I've
you
been
have
trying
the
to figure out.
address?
Yeah, I, I do not know. Nobody could figure out what was wrong.
Yeah,
It's
that's what.
just tap water. So
Yeah, no,
I've
that's wild. The only thing I could think of is the water level sensor works off of dissolved solids in the water. So I'm sure not from a home spigot, but if you have distilled water, it's going to struggle to work. It needs. We typically recommend about 15 parts per million at a
okay.
minimum. You can definitely go lower than that. I have a lot of exotic plant growers that absolutely hate to have minerals in their water. I think a lot of carnivorous plants do not like minerals.
Hmm.
So and they run pretty close to distilled water in it, and they'll work, but you can tell it doesn't like to work. You know.
Yeah, I use RO water, and I
Yeah,
just love the smell of that. I like it a whole lot better than the tap water.
yeah. That's tap water can get funky, especially if it has like high sulfur content in it, and uh, and then calcium. A lot of people notice like a white dust
Yeah.
that ends up getting on surfaces, and that's all calcium from your water. It's harmless, but it's a pain. So
Yes, I
RO
know.
water is a great choice.
What are the danger factors? In other words, is there anything that could be dangerous about it? Getting hot, blowing up? Let's say you run your system dry. You go away for the weekend. The bucket gets drained. Your system's left on. Is there anything that could be something that would be dangerous to anyone?
Well, it has a water level sensor on it. So as your system does go dry, it'll shut itself off. So it won't run it.
So that's why I haven't burned mine up yet. Then.
Yeah, yeah. I do recommend. I know you guys use 5 gallon buckets, and most of you guys are using a single disc unit, which is very mild, as far as heat generation is concerned. Um,
Yeah, the beginners, the newbies will.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
I got a 5,
there you go. There you go. If you're trying to
and I'm
run,
looking for that 12, John. If you happen to drop one in the mail,
I can do that for you. I can do that for you. I got a couple spares sitting around here, but oh, there's one, and
oh, oh!
so
Well, you just made James's day.
but
Oh.
yeah, so if you're using one of the larger units, we typically recommend going with a larger footprint container, like the 27-gallon tough totes that you see at Walmart with like the yellow lids. And that way you have a nice large footprint. And as the water level drops, the fogger is going to shut it off when that water level gets to 3-4 inches, right? And if you have 3 or 4 inches in a 5 gallon bucket, you've got maybe a gallon of water in there. But if you have 3 or 4 inches
Mhm.
across a 27-gallon container, now you're looking at, what, 6-7 gallons. And that'll help dramatically when it comes to typically it's burning up the discs is what it'll do. The water will get too hot, the
Right.
discs will burn up, and when I say burn up, I mean just stop functioning well. And then
And is that the discs themselves that are being destroyed from whatever the problem is?
I believe it's just the temperature allows them to lose that rigidity that they need to to vibrate properly, and you'll see the output go from 100% down to maybe 15 or 20%, in a matter of hours if you're running in 120 or 130 degree water.
I know we already went over this, but how long do you think the typical lifespan of the disc is?
So if you're running a single disc unit, I'd imagine you're probably going to get, if you're running 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off, or I'm not sure how you guys are using them. Usually a humidistat
I do like 6 to 8 hours at a time.
I run it about from like 11 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning.
Yeah, that's perfect. We typically recommend don't run them for more than 8 hours without at least a 1 hour break. There's a cooling
That's
tube.
good to know.
Yeah, there's a cooling tube inside of them. And I know people. I try my hardest to get.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I swear.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. But I know it's a rule that's broken often, and it's not a huge deal when it comes to the single disc or the 3-disc units. But as you start getting, especially with the 36-volt units, the bigger ones like the 6, the 9, the 12, and the 12XL that we sell, those get substantially hotter, and they have a cooling tube inside the unit that's filled with silicone. And what'll happen is, maybe not the first time or the second time or the third or fourth or 20th time, that tube swells and then contracts and then swells real hard and contracts, and it'll blow out and it'll push the bottom plate of that fogger out, and it's toast. After that happens, it's done. So I know my customers that chronically run these things dry. They're the ones that keep coming back with this popped cooling tube.
Yeah.
But 3,000 to 5,000 hours is about what you should be getting out of your discs if you're running a single or a 3-disc unit, and you got plenty of water in there.
Yeah, I've got one that finally took a poop after a year, but it was probably from me letting it run dry. And then I've got another one on the other side of the room that's going on 2.5 years with no disc change.
Nice.
And literally running at least 8 hours a day.
That's awesome. That's great to hear.
So another reason why I come back. A lot of the products that we buy commercially for what we do, small reservoirs, burn out quick, we have leaking problems. They're really just a pain in the butt what they've sold to us in the market. So this is like almost a godsend to what we do.
I'm glad
Why
to
did
hear.
they leak? How did they leak? Why is that the problem?
I know.
I don't even get it.
And they're hard.
I don't either. I know
after
after
hard to fix.
After I have the leaking problem, I'll pull the thing off. I'll literally get some super cleaner. I'll spend a few minutes cleaning the heck out of it, put it back together, and all of a sudden it doesn't leak anymore. I don't know what I did, but it seems to work. And I just got sick of it. You know what I really hated was it's a half a gallon. It's like, I'm filling it up every day. When I'm doing Parsons, I need that. I got to go to work. So for me, a 27-gallon tote is perfect.
Yeah.
I fill it up on Sunday. I fill it up the following Sunday. It covers my fogging, my misting, and I don't have to touch the darn thing all week long. I don't even have to think about it. And again, with your product, it really makes our hydration schedules and hydration systems really work well.
I'm really glad to hear that.
It's just done some amazing things for my animals.
That's great.
I know that for a fact.
Oh, yeah. Well, I am wondering, what is the best maintenance practice?
I got a snake crawling underneath me. What are you doing, little guy? What are you doing, little guy?
Hey.
I've never seen.
Awesome.
You guys know what he is? I don't even know. Looks.
It's some kind of non-chameleon.
Yeah, run, John. It's an anaconda.
It's better than. Yeah, right. It's better than the typical rattlesnakes we get around here.
Yeah, there's going to be people in our audience who are screaming at the screen, "It's this species!" And we're going, "Oh,
what's the matter with you? Why don't you know what that is?"
If it's some obscure subspecies of Jackson's chameleon, I'd know.
Yeah, it looks like a little garter snake or something. We have a horrible, I guess some people it wouldn't be, but a horrible rattlesnake problem around here. It's I live out.
Yeah, I have the same issue.
It's crazy. It's twice on my property, I've come within a foot of stepping on them, like one step away. And one was right in the middle of my driveway. I go back and forth between this office and my house, and it's like, a 50-yard walk. And I was answering emails, had my head down, and just over the top of my screen, I seen a rattlesnake just laying out on my asphalt. And yeah, so I'm a little twitchy when I when I see something that resembles a snake around here. Yeah. My daughter was sunbathing out on the porch one day, and one slithered right up underneath her thing. She's on the phone with me. She's going, "What should I do?" I don't know, but it's run as soon as you can.
I've got pictures of me and my daughter catching them.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
got snake sticks here. And I'm in California, and they're everywhere out here. I mean, summertime, especially right now, spring, they're all coming out of their nesting, and you really got to pay attention. Don't lift anything up.
Yeah.
And if you do lift anything, 9 times out of 10, you lift something up, there's a snake under it.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it is around here.
So the disc.
All right, we were talking
super
about
easy to change.
what's the
Super easy to change.
Yeah, I mean, generally they're pretty easy to change. The biggest thing that you have to remember is to dry the unit off before you change them. It's compare it to if you were going to open up your cell phone to work on it, you're not going to spray it down with water and then open it up, right? Under the disc it's electronics. There's at the base of the spring, there's a little tiny circuit board. You can see the springs actually soldered right to it, and a very common mistake is for people to pull it right out of the water, and the discs they sit in little pockets there, and they'll just leave them wet and unscrew them and get some water in there, and they go and swap the disc out and put the new one in. And
so is there some sort of rubber gasket between the disc and
yeah, there is. So the composition of it is a retaining ring on top, a ceramic disc right underneath that retaining ring, and then under the disc is a clear O-ring, and that's your line of defense to keep water out of there. So you're gonna take it comes with a key. You take the key, you'll pull your retaining ring off, and the ceramic disc will be next. Sometimes it sticks to the O-ring underneath. You just take your corner of your thumb and push down on the edge real hard, and it'll pop it up out of there. And make sure that O-ring doesn't stick to the bottom of the disc, because another common problem is people take the disc out, the O-ring stuck to the bottom. They put the new disc back in, no O-ring. Crank down that retaining ring, break the disc when they screw it down, because there's no buffer underneath of it, and they don't know it, and then they stick it back in the water, and there goes your fogger. So it's a common mistake.
All right, so what are the best general maintenance practices for the foggers? And I'm talking about what kind of cleaning should we be doing?
So there's not a lot. They're relatively maintenance free. If anything, you'll see on top of your disc you'll get a little bit of buildup, whether it's calcium or iron in your water or whatever might be in your water. And I literally just take my shirt, stick my finger in it, wipe each disc down, and they're non-stick ceramics, so it's pretty easy to get them clean.
That's what I call technology right there, Bill. T-shirts.
Yep.
T-shirt cleaning. Did you hear that?
Yes, sir.
That's it.
I think this guy's kind of like a construction worker. We're pretty similar,
Yeah, you could definitely compare me to a construction worker. I'm actually building a room on the front of my house right now. It's about I'm one of them construction workers that you bitch at constantly to finish the job, and I'm like, I'll be there in 2 weeks. I got other stuff going on. I got a music festival this week, and boat next week. So, but yeah, it's super easy. You just wipe them down with your shirt. If it's beyond a t-shirt fix, you can pull them out and soak them in vinegar. You can even pour a little bit of vinegar right on top of your unit, and the disc sit in a little pocket, so you can just spray that vinegar on there and let it sit for 10-15 minutes and break up those solids there, and they'll wipe right off. Do not use bleach. Please do not use bleach.
Okay.
It is kryptonite to these foggers. You can ruin it instantly. Bleach, when you get bleach on your hands and you try to wash it off and your hands are slimy, it does the exact same thing to that disc, and for whatever reason, it's like that done. and I can't get them back. I don't know what it does, but it is kryptonite. And don't add it to your water. If you want to clean your reservoir, like I said, hydrogen peroxide or empty all of the water, spray it out with, rubbing alcohol or something else that kills pathogens other than bleach. It
Okay.
just makes me shiver thinking about it. It's cost me so much money over the years, for sure.
So one thing I want to confirm that I've been doing some testing with these things. There's it's kind of a two-part question. The first one is I've noticed when I slow the fan down,
Mm-hmm.
I get more fog.
So
Is that me, or is that what is that?
So I don't necessarily think it's more fog. I think it's a ratio
Okay.
difference. If your fan is running at 20 cubic feet per minute, your fogger is not going to change, right? Your fogger is still producing the same amount of
The
fog.
same amount of
I
fog, right?
think, if anything, the concentration in the air becomes so thick in your reservoir that you might get some reintegration into your water, where the fog's just
Okay.
finding its way back into the water.
Drawing out.
Right.
Okay.
But I believe it's probably just a concentration thing. If you go from 20 cubic feet of fog per minute to 120 cubic feet of fog per minute, it's that much more cubic feet of air mixed with the same amount of fog, right? So it's going to be a much
Okay.
less dense fog, than.
So it's just density I'm seeing, and not necessarily more fog.
Yeah, I
It's
think I
it's
think it's really just more of a density thing, and there is an aspect of turbulence inside the reservoir where you might find, I tend to avoid running the fan directly down on top of the fogger, and
okay.
and that way you're not pushing that fog right back down into the water. Ideally you want the fan on one side, the fogger and your vents on the other side, and you want a flow from one side to the other, and the air picking up that fog and taking it right out of the reservoir versus the fan beating it right back down into the water there.
Yeah, I was playing with an idea of keeping the fog, diffusing the fog before it leaves to build up more. And it's just me playing around with it, trying to find other ways of using it. But I was thinking about using I've got a Chinese version of an industrial fogger that I bought a long time ago, and I noticed that it had a little diffuser at the front of it that stopped the air from going right out the tube. In other words, it had to push the fog up through it. So I was thinking about maybe making some kind of, but if it's not really necessary, I don't know. I was just playing with it. You
Yeah.
know me. I'm trying to figure stuff. I'm trying to be the guy,
Yeah, I don't think it's super necessary. There's an aspect
Uh,
of preventing the splash, that you see over top of the foggers. You get that 3 or 4 inches of splash, that
right,
come off.
right.
So if you have an open hole, your vent hole, right there, and you don't have a tube going up into your tank or your grow room or whatever it might be, that's might be a little bit of that they're trying to solve the
Avoid.
problem.
Okay. Well, and then the last one is airflow. Is there a way that we can control this besides with the machine, besides doing some kind of external airflow? Let's say I bought a 5 fogger. I plan on putting it on 3 cages. I'm only running it to 1 right now. Is there a way that I can slow down the amount of fog that's going into that by using your machine? I'm going to try something. What I'm going to use is some PVC valves. That's my idea, and I haven't played with it yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, so
But is there a way that the machine can do that?
yeah, there's a couple different ways. The most common way I get asked is definitely not the way to do it, which is to just remove some discs. I get asked that regularly, and that's the worst thing you can do. You'll be emailing me the next week telling me that your fogger just broke randomly and you don't know what happened, and you know, and it's really because you got water in it. So the correct way to do it is voltage, just by lowering the voltage through a fan controller or something along those lines,
Mm-hmm.
and that way you're not putting the wear and tear onto your fogger like you would running it at full speed and using a
Mm-hmm.
baffle. But if you want the cheap way and just as feasible of a way to do it, just baffle your tube going into your aquarium. You can take a small piece of plastic, just cut it off a Tupperware container or something, and just slide it in between, your reservoir lid
And just bring it in and out
and
as
that
much.
tube. Yeah, and you can adjust it as needed. The size of your delivery pipe, and I know we've talked about this via email before. I always tend to recommend a 4-inch pipe, and you guys are, you're running with chameleons, and your tanks are much smaller than, the Martha tents and the small greenhouse tents that a lot of my customers are using. Um, so so really just a 1.5-inch pipe is probably fine for you guys, and you are, doing just fine with them. But the difference in flow between a 1.5-inch pipe and a 4-inch pipe is exponential. It's a significant difference. So if you find
Size equals volume.
yeah, absolutely. So, if you find yourself, if you bought a fogger and you've got it set on, one of your bigger chameleon tanks and you're going, I just can't get this single disc unit to work, it's take a look at that delivery pipe first. If you're running a 1 or a 1.5-inch or a 2-inch pipe there, step it up to a 3 or a 4, and I bet you'll see a difference. Or minimize your delivery pipe, because a lot of people, for whatever reason, you'll see, they'll have their 5-gallon bucket there in their terrarium or aquarium sitting up on the desk, and that pipe will run and it'll do this number and up and over and in, and I'm going, well, you probably got half your pipe filled with water, and you have 6 feet of pipe that's condensating and it's got water running back towards it, and it's short.
Yeah, I've made all of those mistakes.
Yeah. James, the way I do it is I actually have my output tube go off, and it goes off on a Y, so one goes to my terrarium and the other leg is valved, and then as I open the valve, the fog that's going to the terrarium drops down. But I don't waste that fog. I have that go into a jar, and then I bottle the fog and I sell it to
nice.
Keep
Nice. I've been missing this all this time. All this time.
Sells great on eBay.
Yeah, I could probably move a lot of that through my website. Just Bill's Fog. Jars of it. Discount 5-gallon buckets of fog.
So John, what's in the future for House of Hydro?
Oh man, that's a good question. We're working on a couple different things. We've got some new transformers coming up. Got a little bit of a redesign on the foggers on our big 12 XLs. They're the first ones we're releasing and kind of testing the waters with it. It's a new disc retainment system that should do a bit better job of keeping the moisture out of the electronics below the disc, and a little bit easier to change them all out. So a couple little redesigns, some hopefully improvements as far as longevity goes. And I don't know, man, my kids are in college and my wife and I work together, and we're enjoying life right now. Like I said, doing some music festivals and going out on the boat when we can. And we had kids kind of early in our early 20s, and didn't get to hang out with all our friends.
So what? The kids aren't going to take over the business when it's time for you to retire?
I don't know. Maybe we've talked. My daughter certainly isn't. She's she's way too smart for fog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not too smart for money.
No. My son is the money guy for sure. He's incredible. He's 20 years old. He graduates next month. Yeah, next month he graduates with a bachelor's degree in finance. And he's gonna, awesome. Yeah, he's a phenomenal kid. He built his own tiny home in my backyard. Can you believe that?
Hey, Bill, we need to send his son a chameleon.
He's tried.
If we can get him hooked, he'll be the fog master after John stops working.
I see where you're going with this.
he had a bearded dragon for a while. And a good friend of his, actually, his dad owns South Florida Cams or something like that, or Southwest Florida Cams. I don't know.
Haven't heard of
But
him.
yeah, so he's a chameleon breeder down here. He does not use my fog because we have plenty of humidity where we're at. But
You got free fog in
yeah,
Florida. Hey, the 4Fs, free fog in Florida.
yeah.
Never mind.
But yeah, I don't know. He's going for his master's in analytics, and I don't know, some stuff I can't pronounce. And we'll see where it takes him. He needs to get his feet wet. He's young. He's got to go do other things and screw up. He can't have it so easy, so quick. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He needs to go make some mistakes and learn some lessons, and then we'll talk. You know. And until then, he can do
There
some
you go.
part-time work for me while he goes to school, and we'll call it good enough.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll be doing this for a
Well, I
while.
don't know about you, Bill, but this is the most informative interview we've done in a while. This was a good one.
You're
Boy, I
just
sure
starstruck,
thank you for coming on
James.
for us, John.
You're just starstruck.
I know. I'm a little starstruck.
That House of Hydro guy.
Yeah,
You
John,
know?
send him an autograph or something, you know?
Can I hang it in the living room?
Absolutely.
Maybe, you know what, James? Maybe I'll pull some strings and see if I can get a signed House of Hydro shirt for you.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
That would be.
I just had some
that
more
would be
printed.
rad.
I just had some printed. These ones, I can't get them anymore, but these ones are super comfortable. I wear them every day, all the time. People think I'm just promoting, but it's just a phenomenally comfortable shirt.
So,
Well, it goes with a pretty darn good company, if you ask me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We really try our best to take care of everybody. It's
Yeah, you've been, like I said, up until the meeting now, dealing with you literally. You literally answer my emails. It's not just some guy in the office.
no. It's
That kind of customer service just doesn't exist anymore. And I'm that kind of guy. I'm an old school kind of guy. I'm a carpenter, a construction worker, and response is everything. Just communication when it comes to the industry and what we do, and people that actually answer back and take the time to help their customers and be real. And that's one thing that I found with your company right out the gate. And I just want to thank you for that. I really do.
I appreciate it. I try very hard to take care of people. I can't stand poor customer service. It's
Yeah, well, just know it doesn't go unrecognized because your company is truly awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
all right, John, I want to thank you very much for coming on and giving us an inside view of this fogging stuff that we love so much.
I thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I was certainly apprehensive, and not because of you guys. I'm not a camera guy. I was a photographer for a long time, and I was on the other side of the camera always. So
Yeah, I know James is kind of intimidating. He does it a lot.
He does it to you. Me neither. I was never a camera guy, and look at me now.
yeah, right.
Huh?
So maybe I'll end up putting some more videos out there. I certainly need a better video presence. I need some lessons from Bill. It seems like he's got to figure it out.
Throw some of ours that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have a great line of videos. And a heck of a following. Shout out to Joanne.
Yes, Joanne. Hello, Joanne.
Shout out to Joanne, sweetheart. She loves you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, we love Joanne too. She's always there.
Good.
All right then. Goodbye, everybody, and
Awesome.
we will see you next time on the
I'll see
DIY
you all.
Community, guys.